Hey, good morning and happy Veterans Day to you all. Today is Thursday, November 11th, and our topic today is the supreme climb. Genesis 22:2. He said, "Take now your son." Now, for those of you who have been in the military, you probably know a lot about climbing hills and tests and things that you don't want to do. And if you know this passage here that's in reference to Abraham, it should remind you of another test that probably none of us would want to do or find ourselves in. But if you aren't familiar with the passage, or it's kind of fuzzy to you, or even if you are familiar with it, the reminder for us should be that God telling Abraham to take his son up to Mount Moriah and sacrifice him there. Now, of course, God didn't really want him to sacrifice his son because he stops him. But it was a test for Abraham to see if he would obey God, if he would trust God, because God had just promised that he would multiply his descendants like the sands of the seashore through Isaac. And so going and sacrificing Isaac would seem to nullify that promise of God. So, how could God, through Isaac, bring about all the descendants like stars in the sky or sand in the seashore? The book of Hebrew tells us that he reasoned that God could raise him even from the dead, right? But of course, God didn't have Abraham kill him, but it was a test to see Abraham's faith. Now, Chambers points this out to us as he says, God's command is, take now, not later. It is incredible how we debate. We know something is right, but we try to find excuses for not doing it immediately. If we are to climb to the height of God, that God reveals, it can never be done later. It must be done now, and the sacrifice must be worked through our will before we actually perform it. So there's two things there, right? The immediate command of go now. Obey God immediately when you're called to obey. And two, that once we begin to obey, once we trust in the Lord, it first has to work through our will before it comes into action. He'll go on to say this: Abraham did not choose what the sacrifice would be. Always guard against self-chosen service for God. That's good. Self-sacrifice may be a disease that impairs your service. If God has made your cup sweet, drink it with grace. Or even if he has made it bitter, drink it in communion with him. If the providential will of God means a hard and difficult time for you, go through it. But never decide the place of your own martyrdom, as if to say, I will only go there, but no further. God chose the test for Abraham, and Abraham neither delayed nor protested, but steadfastly obeyed. If you are not living in touch with God, it is easy to blame him or pass judgment on him. You must go through the trial before you have any right to pronounce a verdict. Because by going through the trial, you learn to know God better. Are you facing some trials in your life? Are there trials and tribulations you wish the Lord would take from you? Or maybe you're being used, but as you said, you're kind of choose how you're being used. Let God use you. If that cup is sweet, enjoy it. Enjoy that time. And for many of us, it's seasons, right? There's seasons of sweetness and there's seasons of bitterness. And as he says, if we're going through a sweet time, drink it with joy and gladness. And if it's a bitter time, do it in communion with God. But let us embrace all time, for our time is short here on this earth. It's like a vapor, the scripture says. But let's do it all for the glory of God, so that it's worthy and worthwhile. Blessings to you. We'll see you on Friday.